Good evening, and welcome to another edition, episode 2 of the Singer's Soapbox. I'm Jessica.
And I'm David.
And on these episodes of the Singer's Soapbox, we'll be talking about all things singing.
Things like common misconceptions and sometimes frequently asked questions that we might get.
Today we'll be talking about the topic of having multiple voices. As a teacher, I hear a lot of, and even not as a teacher, but even as just in general, I hear a lot of people say, oh, you need to sing using your chest voice, or oh, you need to sing using your head voice, like we have multiple voices. And it's kind of a strange thing, and sometimes I don't hear people talk about that at all. They talk about it in a different way, like feel it in your face mask, or feel it ring through your chest, or things like that. So would you care to expound upon that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. And sometimes, you hear other things like, use your inside voice. Or you might hear, like my wife here has a teacher voice.
Yes, you do too, because you're a teacher.
Well, I think yours is probably more powerful than mine. But, people talk about different voices, yet it's still the same mechanism that makes the sound. So, in reality, what people are talking about is how you produce sound and where you're getting the feedback whenever you sing or whenever you speak. When they say to use your inside voice, they're saying you should talk quietly. Mm-hmm. Okay. When they say a teacher voice, for instance, it's that they're commanding with their voice whenever they speak, mm-hmm. so that it gets people's attention. All right. And then your speaking voice would just be your normal, just the way you talk. Yet it's still the same mechanism making the sound. Okay, so when it comes to singing, we hear this idea of head and chest voice. And really what it's referring to is the feedback that we're getting. Okay, so when we sing lower, the frequencies that we're singing at resonate more in our chest. And we kind of feel that vibrating in our chest. When we sing higher into our upper range, then we start to feel it resonate inside more of our head, and that's where that term head and chest voice comes. But don't mistake that it's all one voice.
Yeah, and that's really frustrating because a lot of people are like, oh, I can't seem to master the concept of my head voice, or I can't sing this in my chest voice. But they're essentially talking about what people like to call belting, like you hear that a lot in musical theater. Don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on musical theater. I love it, but you hear that a lot in musical theater. You hear that a lot on the radio. The pop stars, they all like to belt, and essentially it's really just pulling lower register function into like the upper, basically. So
yeah.
And we'll talk more about register function too. So.
Yeah, and that's something that at least when we're studying with the student, we don't talk so much about our head voice and our chest voice. We talk about it in terms of registration. So as you've probably heard of the term your break. Well, as you approach your break, you're getting closer and closer to switching over your registration into your upper register. And as if you're singing down from really high in your vocal range, you'll go towards your break, and then you'll flip back over into your lower register. And all that's happening with your voice is it's a shift in function. Okay, so your vocal folds, as you sing higher, they stretch, and as you sing lower, they go lax. And so there's muscles that control that. You have a group of muscles that bring your vocal folds together. You blow air through them, and they vibrate, and that makes the sound. The other group of muscles is the one that does the stretching. Well, whenever you're singing really low, the muscles that are holding them together, they're doing most of the work. And that's what we call our low registration, or what some people will call their chest voice. Okay, so those muscles do most of the work then. Whenever you're singing higher up above your break, now it's that muscle group that's stretching the vocal folds, they're doing most of the work. And now all of a sudden you're at a higher frequency, you're getting more feedback in your head, and you're above your break. Now as singers, what we want to try to do is smooth this transition out and have a nice even mix from down in our lower registration all the way up into our upper registration, and that's what we learn when we take voice lessons.
Yeah, so can you demonstrate like essentially what the head voice or upper register versus lower register sounds like?
Yeah, so the easiest way to do this is with a siren. So if I start way up high on my register and come all the way down, it would sound like this. And you probably heard the little blip in there. That's where my break is, and that's where the muscle groups switch dominance. So both of them were probably working to some extent all the way up and down through the range, but at that point, the dominance switched from one to the other.
You can kind of think about it like a rubber band too.
Mm-hmm.
Like if these are your vocal folds, okay, like cue my hair tie because I happen to have it on my wrist. But if you think about the muscles in your lower register that have to push together, it's the muscles that bring the sides together. If I asked you how would you get the sides of this rubber band to touch, essentially what you'd say is, well, you could either stretch it so far that the sides come together, or you can push the sides together. So the lower register function would be the muscles that push the sides together, and the upper register would be the ones that stretch. And if you think about it too, like a rubber band, the farther you stretch it, and if you were like strumming it, not that you'd strum your vocal folds, but if you were, it would make the sound higher the farther you stretched it. So the sounds get higher in your voice as your vocal folds are stretching, or vice versa. So if that makes sense. So yeah. So that blip that you heard in the middle, like you said, was the break, and that's where one group of muscles, the muscles that bring things together, kind of switches jobs. Well, I shouldn't put it that way. They relinquish control to the muscles more that stretch, and so that's what's happening inside your throat. So.
Yep. Yeah. So, and the best way to work on negotiating our registration shift is with a voice teacher, because you know, you can feel it happening, but like we said in a previous video, you can't really hear how you sound exactly. So having someone else listen to you and give you feedback is really the best way to deal with those registration shifts.
And also being able to explain how it feels inside too is important. So when you have a good voice teacher, if you have a good voice teacher, then they will be constantly giving you feedback on what you sound like, and you will constantly be asking them, or they'll constantly be asking you, how does that feel? Where do you feel that? How is it? What's it like in your head? Or tell me more about that. They're gonna get to the basics, down to the bare bones of what exactly is happening, and not using a bunch of imagery that could be misconstrued and kind of detrimental if you misinterpret to what you're actually trying to get at, and that's or singing better and more efficiently. So if you would like more help negotiating your registers, or just having a one-on-one voice lesson, feel free to contact us at our website, which is dynamicfineartsacademy.com, and there you can go and fill out a lesson registration form. And you can also follow us on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We have all of the above. Basically anything social media, we're there. But we look forward to hearing from you, and we hope that you'll sign up with us to take a lesson.
Yeah, and just so you know, we're obviously both voice teachers, so we're talking a lot about voice, but we do have other lessons available. We have a piano instructor, we have a brass instructor, a woodwind instructor as well, and a guitar instructor. So if you're interested in taking any lessons in those specific areas, do let us know, and thanks for watching.